living organisms in a shared body, and I believe that politics is as important as your spiritual, mental, and physical health, and that it is a daily practice. So I'm just going to go over a few things about PAC and civic engagement, and then I'll introduce our moderator this evening, and then we'll get into the forum itself. So at PAC here, we are a cultural center that does, we have programs, civic engagement, Palestine education, we do social services, events, and we also have our own publication called Philistine Magazine. I usually have a presentation, but it takes a lot longer. We're getting started shorter, so I'm just going to go. As for civic engagement, we run 2 internship programs, and those are open to any students to help to develop leadership or grassroots organizing skills. And then we also do advocacy work. So if you go to our table currently right now, we're advocating for law. So we're asking people to write letters. She was detained by ICE for speaking up during a protest in 2023. So we'd like to continue to be able to send support her way. We also make advocacy cards. So if you want to share your zip code with Lisa up front, what we're doing is we're going to give you the phone numbers of every one of your representatives. Everybody has 6 representatives that represent you, each and every single person. So we want to give you something that you can put on your fridge, so when there's a call to action, and we're saying call your representative, you know exactly who to call. We can break it down to a fun little calendar so that you can make it a consistent and daily practice as well. With that, I will introduce our moderator, and we're going to be co-hosting with one another, and we'll go ahead and we'll get started. And today we have Eddie Ruiz, who is a parent in the district and who's also a PTO member. And then my name is Halima Tom, and I run civic engagement advocacy at the Palestinian American Community Center. Eddie's going to go over the format of the event, and then I'll kick it off.
Thank you, everyone. Good evening, everyone. I want to thank you again for joining us tonight. I'm going to start by explaining the format of tonight's event. Candidates are seated in order of the way their names will appear in the ballot. We will start with introductions, followed by 2 rounds of predetermined questions, where we will have 7 questions to pick from a hat. We will go in order.
This is our hat.
That's our hat. We will go in the order you are seated. Each candidate will answer the first round randomly. Select the questions, then you will restart, and each candidate will answer the second random question. Each candidate will get a total of 2 questions, and then we'll have a round where you can comment on other questions. Then we'll have another round of questions from the audience. Depending on the questions we receive, there are index cards and pens on your tables where you can write questions and answer the questions that you may not have answered before. So we're going to break this down. 2-minute introduction. We would like you to spend the first minute introducing yourself and the next minute letting the audience know why they should vote for you. 2 rounds of predetermined questions. You'll have 90 seconds to answer 2 rounds of questions. You will receive 7 questions to pick from a hat. And we'll go in order as you're seated. Each candidate will answer the first round randomly, select the questions, and then we'll restart. And each candidate will answer the second question randomly. Each candidate will get a total of 2 questions. And then we'll have a 90-second commentating on other questions.
So this is your opportunity to be able to respond to a question that wasn't asked to you. So that's what the index cards are for you to keep track of.
Then we'll have another 2 rounds of questions from the audience. You'll receive each 90 seconds to answer 2 rounds of questions. We will collect up to 6 questions from the audience. We will pick them from the hat, once again the hat, and we'll go in order as you're seated. Each candidate will answer the first question randomly. Select the question where we start at. Each candidate will answer the second question randomly as well. Each candidate will get the total of 2 questions from the audience. We may have a 3rd round depending on how time goes. Then at the end we'll have a 2-minute closing remarks. Feel free to remark any questions that they may have come up that you may get a chance to answer. And then the end.
Thank you. And then we're going to start off, since Ms. Valerie is not here, we'll start off with Alexander Menendez. We're going to put 2 minutes on the clock. You can see that. And you'll start off with your pitch and then just pass the mic out to each candidate. Thank you so much.
All right, so good evening, everybody. My name is Alex Mendez Jr. I will be number 2 on the ballot on Tuesday, November 4th, 2025. Just a little bit about me. I was born and raised in the city of Paterson. I'm a product of Paterson Public Schools. I attended school 18. I attended International High School, where I graduated from in 2018. And I went on to continue my studies at Williams-Paterson University, majoring in communications with a minor in business administration. And in my time there, I encountered a number of people who, when I told them I'm from Paterson, they grimaced, they gave me shocked reactions, and I was met with a bunch of negative reactions. I don't know why we had this stigma as a city. And so after I graduated college, I came back and I wanted to contribute to Paterson. I wanted to find a way to give back to our community. And so that's why I'm running for the Board of Ed. I'm all for advocacy. You and my community have something in common, the Latino community, as well as the Arab/Muslim community here in Paterson, New Jersey. We have plenty of ESL parents who don't necessarily speak the language. They learn English as a second language. And I want to be advocates for them as well. I want to make sure that we have advocacy and ensuring that language isn't a barrier to education and to advocating for our children. And so if you're with me on that, I would love your support on this November 4th to on the ballot, and thank you so much.
Thank you. Eddie Gonzalez, I'm currently the president of the Board of Education. I am 3E on the ballot. I am also born and raised in the city of Paterson, lifelong resident. I actually served on the Board of Education once before, elected back in 2009. Serving on many committees, serving on many different programs, and where I work at NJCDC, which is New Jersey Community Development Corp. I have a lot of experience with dealing with youth. I have mentored over 250 high school students through the Paterson Youth Council program. We do a lot of real estate and things of that nature, youth-related programs. We're building the city's first recreation center. So I'm very involved in the city in many different aspects. So I come with a lot of experience, various experience, not just in education, but also in understanding what the community needs. I lived in South Paterson for many years. My parents still live in South Paterson. Went to school in grade. I moved around the district a lot growing up. But I'm a homeowner here in the city of Paterson. I live in the Hillcrest section. I'm the proud president of the Hillcrest Neighborhood Association, and I do participate in many different activities throughout the city, not just in education. But as this year has gone, I have been elected as the president to serve this year, and it's been a pleasure. And this year, there's been statistics showing how the district has improved greatly over many other years. In fact, there was a presentation just recently as to how the school district increased double digits over the state average. So there's a lot of good things coming out of Paterson. The reality is you don't always hear it, right? The newspapers sometimes don't always share the positive news. They just share some of the negative stuff. But I'm proud to say that we have a lot of new initiatives, a lot of new programs in the school district. There's a lot of great achievements that are coming out from our teachers, our parents that are reporting, successes coming out of the September opening of school year. And, that goes to a lot of the teamwork that we have, both on the district level, but also teachers and principals that have done a great job as well.
Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez.
Good evening. First, I would like to say to the Palestine American Community Center, thank you for having me here. My name is Della McCall, and I am 4E for the ballot for the Board of Education here in the city of Paterson. When I talk about my experiences, I'm a very community-oriented person. I've always been very involved in our community. But growing up, being a part of the Board of Education, it just has a very special part of my heart. I was a very young mother, and when I had my child, I was just going into high school. And what I've learned is that if you don't have a school community to surround you, I would not be sitting here today. So I give everything to the men and women of Eastside High School that fostered me while I was going through being a parent so young. But to say that, I also want to say that out of that experience, both of my children are very educated. I have a son who is a president of a very large financial institution, vice president, excuse me, I'm giving him a promotion. And I have a daughter who just recently graduated from Rutgers University. So I find education to be the prime essential tool to get you where you want to be. And in our city, I believe all of our children can make a difference. And if we put the right education before them and they have the right to be able to do it, then I know I've done my job as a board member for the Paterson Public Schools.
Thank you, Ms. McCollum.
Good night, everyone. Thank you for having me here. Thank you for being here. My name is Chris Small, and I'll be running for Paterson Board of Ed Commissioner. I'll be filing the ballot November 4th. Hopefully, I'll have your vote and your support. And I'm running for Paterson Board of Education because I'm a passionate hard worker. I want to continue doing the work that I've been doing. That's the work, working with the youth and working in education. It's something I've been doing for over 25 years. And it's the kind of work that changes lives, and it's the kind of work that saves lives. And so I've been working to keep kids off the street, keep kids out of jail, keep kids out of trouble, keeping them in school, and hopefully to get employed. The school-to-prison pipeline is not a myth, it's not a cliche, it's a real thing, and it's something that I feel like I need to be on the front line in fighting against. Because we need to save our kids, and I think that we're not providing them adequately with everything they need to be successful. So that's why I'm running for Paterson School Board, and why I think I make a great candidate. I think there's some reasons why. First and foremost, I'm an educator and a teacher. Not only am I an educator, I've been a lifelong educator. I've been working in the city of Paterson since the early 2000s, starting out as a counselor at Friendship Corner while going to college. And after graduating from college, Shane University, with a bachelor's degree in accounting, I came back to my city to continue working with the youth, continue helping out by being a counselor at the summer camp at Eastside Park. I was able to gain employment as an accountant in my field, and even while being an accountant and working in corporate America, I still always give back to my city by being a high school football coach. And through being a high school football coach, tutoring kids and helping them with their SATs, helping them with their FAFSA, getting enrolled into college, I eventually changed career paths and entered into education. I started out as an instructional aide at School 20 in the behavioral disorder program before eventually earning a position as a math teacher at school number 12. And over the years, I worked in different positions in different schools, from high schools to grammar schools, working with first graders to eighth graders, and I've earned several certifications and licenses in teaching, from teaching students with disabilities to earning specialization in math. I think my time is up.
Mr. Small. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Madal. I'm running for the Board of Education. I will be the last on the ballot. Hopefully, I want to make a difference in Paterson, New Jersey, because we are a growing Arabic community, and I'm hoping to see an Arabic Muslim person on the board. I've coached School 9 basketball. I've coached for Dr. Haney, and I see these kids are struggling. I see they need help, and hopefully I can make that little bit of difference for the students. As a product of Charles J. Riley School 9, born and raised, I graduated from School 9. Once I graduated, went to high school, I was hoping to get into tech because Paterson High School is weren't as good, and I'm hoping to make that difference if I get a seat on the board. I want students in Paterson to fight to get into Kennedy, Eastside, International. I don't want them going to other towns, fighting to get into tech, fighting to go to Clifton. Hopefully I can make a little bit of difference for the Arabic community and all communities, not just Arabic. Hopefully everybody votes for me. Thank you so much.
We want everyone to stay county or anyone in state of New Jersey to feel comfortable coming here. So, also the Zara in the back with the fine glasses. If you raise your hand, she'll bring you a card and a pen, and you can write down your questions, and then just raise your hand again, and she'll come back and she'll collect when you're done writing for the final round. And with that, we'll go ahead and we'll get started with questions. I did just consolidate it, just so that this way everyone's hearing here. So. And we'll get started. Thank you so much.
You guys, not looking at it. It's like, all right, so,
This first question is gonna be for Alexander Menendez.
Mendez, sorry about that. Thank you, Mendez, thank you. I'm always adding extra syllables all the time, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Mendez. The question is, how can the district better accommodate the religious and cultural needs, for example, providing halal and vegetarian meal options, aligning with school calendars and events with community diversity?
Well, I certainly think that honoring the religious observance is of the utmost importance. I think that we all come from different paths of life, and we all have different beliefs, and seeing, I'm a strong supporter of halal food options in Paterson Public Schools. I think that it's very imperative. I'm in favor of perhaps giving students another place to sit when, during Ramadan. So, perhaps they may not be tempted by food. I think that this is very important. I think that it's important to accommodate for religious holidays as well. We do need to support our Muslim students in that right. And, so I'm all for halal foods. I'm all for, religious integration within our schools. So, yeah, thank you for the question.
You can keep it. I'm really loud, I can project, so this room could be full and you still hear me. What measures would you take to ensure all students feel represented, respected, and valued in school policies, curricula, and daily interactions?
Thank you for the question. I'm actually going to try to tie that also with the previous question. It's important that we acknowledge that Paterson is a very diverse community, not just in the different ethnicities, but also the language, culture, religion. Paterson is a very unique place. I think we're the second largest or most densely populated city in the country next to Manhattan. So understanding that we speak over 54 languages, right? We have, all parts of Paterson. People come to Paterson because they can eat any kind of food. If you're looking for Middle Eastern, you have a spot for that. You want soul food, Spanish food, whatever the case is. So we acknowledge that on the Paterson Board of Education. And what I say is that through experience, right? Not what I would do, but what I would continue to do. When I was elected back in 2009, there was an issue where in 2010, we passed a policy where this actually came up, the first question, where it was individual students who wanted to practice prayer couldn't do so because of the separation of, religion and whatnot from schools. But it's about being creative, passing policies that would allow for such things. So what we did was we got creative, and what we did was at that time pass the policy allowing students to go into their classrooms, their homeroom classrooms, to have free time. And in that free time, because it depends how you word things, right? In that free time, you can do whatever you want, right? That's time in the classroom where you have an instructor, but that's a time that was really meant for Muslims to go in and pray during their time. So there's certain ways of getting things done when you work with the community and get feedback from the community so that you can create policies that would impact all religions and all the needs of the community, students.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. McCall. Third question is about special education and IEPs. Given the current conditions about insufficient IEP support, limited pull-out services, and the use of unqualified substitute teachers, how will you strengthen the special education program and ensure students with IEP receive timely, adequate, and high-quality service?
Thank you for the question. I believe that when children have special needs, we have to be on top of it. I'm very aggravated with the fact that our children are not getting their IEPs on time. One of the things that I think we have to do as a board, we have to figure out how do we make the possibilities of getting children, if it means taking them outside of our district or developing some type of way with an organization that can help us to get those IEPs done. As we all know, it is not being done. And a lot of our children are not being classified properly because they're not being done. So I think we have an obligation to find outside resources if we're not unable to do it in a timely manner. So I think that we have to give that directive to our superintendent and make it a priority and make sure that it's being done. One of the things that I'm definitely an advocate for, if we can do it in-house, do it. But if we can't, get the proper, I want to say this nicely, so let me slow down. Get the proper needs filled by taking it outside of our district.
Thank you. So Mr. Small, if elected, how would you ensure that board meetings are inclusive of parents and guardian voices and that their concerns lead to meaningful follow-up and action?
Can you repeat that one more time?
Yes, sir. Yeah. If elected, how would you ensure that board meetings are inclusive of parents and guardian voices and that their concerns lead to meaningful follow-up and action?
Well, first and foremost, one of the things I would like to put in place is a parent advisory council. So that's something that would help in communication, having clear, concise communication with the parents and with the community. So they're aware of different meetings and different changes that we might implement, and also get their feedback and input on some of these decisions, because they might be able to offer a perspective that we might not have thought of or considered greatly enough. So I would definitely want to engage the parents and keep them involved in any decisions that we're making, because it involves their children, and of course, that's their biggest priority. So I think they should have some kind of input or at least some feedback in every decision or new decisions that we make.
Thank you.
Let's wrap it up. Next question is about transparency and communication. If elected, how will you promote transparency, accountability, and open communication between the district, administration, and parents?
Thank you for the question. In Paterson, we have a little situation where parents would voice their voices and ask for help and ask for certain stuff. And I see it multiple times coming to meetings, coming to the board meetings and everything. If I'm elected, hopefully I want everything to be changed. I'm gonna try my best to reach out to all the parents and make a difference. Make it easier for you guys to come up, ask us questions, see what difference you guys want. We gotta work together as a community. We shouldn't be going against each other. There shouldn't be hate against people on the board. So hopefully, if I am elected, I'm hoping to make a little difference, work with whoever is elected at the time, and make it easier for everybody in the city of Paterson.
And we'll go ahead and we'll bring the next round of questions, so we're gonna start with the relevant again and go back down that way. I just also wanted to make mention that you do get to vote for 3 people, so there are 3 seats open on the board, so you do get 3 votes, keep that in mind.
Student safety and security. How will you ensure student safety in light of recent incidents involving violence in the district and concerned about the lack of security personnel in schools?
So in the city of Paterson, we have a situation with bullying, kids getting beat up, kids having all these problems where they can't speak to anybody. My biggest concern is having more counselors on top of having more security. We need counselors, we need the students to speak up. If they're getting bullied, they shouldn't just accept it and keep getting beat up, getting scared to go to school, scared to be in Paterson, scared to be outside. Hopefully we make a difference. My biggest concern is getting more counselors in each school. Hopefully that can help the students speak out. And on top of that, we will need more security guards, more protection in every school in Paterson. This way we could be safer, the students could be safer. We won't be worried about our kids going to school every day. We'll be more happy to send them, and we'll feel safe for the rest of the day.
Thank you.
Mr. Smalls, question is about curriculum and global awareness. How should schools approach teaching global human rights and historical events in an age-appropriate balance that promotes empathy, awareness, and critical thinking?
I think we should be diverse in our view of the world, and we shouldn't just limit it to one point of view, as far as just looking at things from the Western point of view. And we should travel around the world and involve all cultures and all different places, so we can learn and educate the children, so they can be more empathetic and sympathetic. Because it's hard to kind of feel sorry for someone when you don't know their story, you don't know their history, you don't know some of the things that they've gone through. So I think if we educate the students on those things, then they would naturally have a more empathetic view towards different cultures and different people from all over the world. Myself, I was born in Jamaica, so I understand how it feels to be labeled as an immigrant, coming to a whole new world, unknown, unfamiliar space, and have to start all over. So I think that it's important that we educate our students to let them know that everyone starts or can start from somewhere else, but that doesn't determine where you're gonna end up.
This is a little more time, I'm just gonna follow up on that. In terms of worldview and like current political, happenings, how would you ensure that worldview would be instilled in our ability to educate?
Just to continue that direction, I think it starts with the banning of books. There's been an assault on different books being banned, so I think we should stop there. I think we should open that up so kids can have access to these books, can have access to that knowledge and those experiences. So I think that's one place I would start, is stop with the banning of books and open up the curriculum so kids can be exposed to more books and different cultures and things of that nature.
Thank you so much. Okay. Mr. Kopp, with ongoing concerns about high administrative costs, what specific steps would you take to reduce wasteful spending without compromising essential programs or staff positions?
Well, first of all, I would say that we have to always keep our eyes on the budget. A lot of times, since I've been here, the budget has been given to us, but not sometimes in an adequate enough time for us to really study it. And so I think that we have to be more mindful and looking at every dollar. We also need to do some reevaluations. I think that we need to look at what has worked, what hasn't worked, what is working, what is not working, what has never worked. And I think that we have to be very clear with the administration what our views and our viewpoints are when it comes to our children. I also think that we have to be very mindful of what parents want to say about the budget. A lot of times, and it's very sad, but our parents don't come to the budget hearings. They don't really involve themselves in that part of the, I think, very important part of the district. And so I think that I'm going to say that we need more parent involvement. We need to be mindful of spending, and we need to reevaluate what worked and what didn't work. And I will repeat that again. We need to redevelop or relook at what is working and what is not, and be honest about it and make the difference so that we can save and put our money to better use.
Mr. Gonzalez, what are your views on the newly adopted middle school model, and what steps will you take as a board education member to improve its effectiveness?
Thank you for that. That was a hot topic, especially with a lot of folks here. I knew that question was coming to me. I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it. It's okay, I accept it. I am proud that in September, we had during the summer, one of the conversations I had, many of the conversations I had with the superintendent and as well as with the cabinet, because the community came out and spoke out against some of the changes, right? And we took note. In fact, I got criticized for keeping my head down, but it's that I write down a lot of notes. And every time somebody speaks, I write down everything that's being said. And although we don't have a chance to go back and forth with the individuals to explain everything, we do go back to board meetings and committee meetings to address every single one of these things. And during the summer, we made sure that all the concerns were being addressed. In fact, on the middle school model in September, I made it a point to go to the schools, all three schools, 9, 8, and Amiel Dollar, which is the latest middle school model. And parents were thrilled. Students were happy. Maybe you weren't, I'm sorry. But there were so many parents, so I wish they were here. So my point is that middle school is, like Paterson is one of the few districts that don't have a middle school model nationwide. Is middle school. Go to Toronto, go to our neighboring towns, they're all middle school models. Paterson is only one of few districts that is starting to turn over. And on the middle school model, it's been said numerous times, this is something that's even before I was on the board, right? It's been already in motion. There was nothing to vote on to make this happen. But I think that the district is seeing more spaces, less crowdedness inside of all the schools. And in fact, there's Spanish classes, there's extra special ed classes that are being taught inside the schools because now they have the spaces for it. Otherwise, from before, it was too crowded in some of these schools. So that being we're increasing the opportunities that these students have now to take classes that they wouldn't have the opportunity prior to. And it was not a fiscal thing. It's not about, like, listen, I know budget's important, but it's not about the fiscal aspect of it. It's about our labs. We don't have labs up to date for these kids to study. When we talk about science and things of that nature, you can't do it in an overcrowded school. So when we did this, now middle school has spaces where they have brand new labs and kids are going to be able to be educated on topics that they otherwise would have lost that opportunity.
Thank you for your time.
My time is up, sorry.
Yes, sir. Just random questions. Mr. Mendez, what strategies will you implement to strengthen students' achievements, particularly in literacy, mathematics, and individual learning supports for all students?
Okay, well, as of right now, I think that, our district is in a dire position with the students. I saw statistics on the test scores, something like 17% proficiency in math and 24% or so in English literacy. I think that we do need to celebrate our students' achievements both individually and as a collective. I think that it's imperative that we ensure that our children's small achievements are not overseen. And I think that we could host even award nights, for children who have exemplary performances within school. However, I think that it's important to celebrate those small wins. So, yeah, those are one of the strategies. Thank you.
So now you will each get 90 seconds to respond to any of the questions that were asked. And we're going to start with Ms. Mendez.
Yep, and it's going down.
Yeah, well, I did see, there was a question asked about how inclusivity in board meetings would be approached and how these concerns would be taken action upon. I did see a pilot program where there were AI headphones that can actively translate in real time. So English-based meetings can be translated into your language of choice. And I think that would be a great implementation on board in general meetings, because at the end of the day, this is a melting pot of the community. And we have a lot of parents who aren't apt at the English language, but they're learning, they're trying. And I think that in order to be advocates for their students, English should not be a prerequisite. So I'm definitely a big advocate on that. So yeah.
Thank you. 90 seconds is not nearly enough, but I heard something about board meetings and having parents involved. And one of the things is that we're pushing on making sure that the PTOs are an active PTO at every single school. So that's been the charge of the superintendent along with the director, who I saw here a little while ago, I don't know where he is now. But the charge is to make sure that every single school is supported for whatever their reasons are. There's principals that just didn't have the support, couldn't identify parents, whatever it takes, even if there's an incentive to create a pot of money to make sure that it helps them get started, especially for the fundraising and stuff like that. I think it's important that we have parent involvement in all the local schools. In addition to that, I wanted to talk about SGAs, the Student Government Association. We activated the Student Government Association at all high schools, and we did something new, which is a district-wide SGA where all the presidents get together to talk about their common issues, and then that will translate into the two representatives, student representatives that sit with us on the board. So we have direct connection to students and parents moving forward. In addition to that, with the middle school model, one of the things that we're still looking into was a lot of concerns about crossing guards and certain intersections. I met with the police department twice, never been done before, where we had the OIC and 12 of his cabinet members to discuss those very issues, in addition to other crime-related issues that, and I'm not talking about the usual communication that the city, that the police department has with the Board of Ed. This is talking about making sure that we have updated streets because they're going off of very old data, what I realized. And they also said that out of the crossing guards they have, DCA needs to approve hiring more. So that's a letter that's going to be sent out to DCA, and I hope everybody who came out and talked about that signs a petition to make sure that they collaborate with us and the police department to increase DCA approving that as well.
So I'm gonna try to answer as many of them as I can because I was writing them down. I think it's essential that the district honors holidays that are definitely religious holidays. One of them that I hope to, when I go back to the board, is to talk about the two E's. A lot of times that we chose one, but the other one is not recognized. I think it should be, because the kids are going to school anyway. So we just may have to relook at our calendar and regroup it. I'm very blessed because I get to celebrate both, because we always have something in this community that allows us to do that. When we talk about food, and I think that every child should have the opportunity to be able to choose something from the lunch menu that meets the needs of their dietary desires. When you talk about bringing culture and making children all feel good, well, I think that in order to do that, we have to celebrate all. We have to know about all. And I think children should be taught, just like when we talk about Black History Month, when we talk about Hispanic Heritage Month, there is some other holidays out there that I think should be included and it should be celebrated. When we talk about special education, I do believe that our special education program needs to be looked at and it needs to be more funded, and I think that we need to consider doing a little bit more hiring. Thank you.
Yes, I wanted to address the question that asked about safety, because one of my colleagues up here mentioned that he was kind of most focused on bullying and things of that nature, but I think something that often goes overlooked and unaddressed is the building safety, the safety of our schools in general, as we have buildings that are over 100 years old. And I know most of you guys are familiar with what happened at Hinchcliffe Stadium this summer with the pipe bursting. So I think it's only a matter of time before we have an issue similar to that in our schools. We have schools, like I mentioned, that are over 100 years old that have all types of hazards, from asbestos to mold to hazardous fumes and other issues. So I think that's something we need to address before it becomes a problem and a bigger problem. And also, we haven't had any new schools really built in Paterson in a long time. I think maybe one in the last 5 years. So I think that's something we should look into as far as giving our students better resources and a better opportunity at a fair and equal education.
I want to start off by talking about the whole religious thing that I know was just spoke about, but we have students that take off for Christmas, for New Year's, everybody gets their own holiday, but Eve comes around twice a year. We do not get a day off. The students are allowed to take off and they're penalized for taking that day off. It's a day absent for them, and I don't think it's fair. Everybody should be treated equally. Also, I want to go back to what was spoken about teacher funding. Every student learns in their own way. I think we need more teacher funding, we need more teachers, because the students will learn more with each teacher in the room helping, not just passing over a few students, trying to do the best that they can for every student in the city of Paterson. Thank you so much.
All right, we've collected some questions from the audience, so we're gonna randomly select these as well, and then we'll give you each an opportunity to answer audience questions, and then we'll do the same thing. Okay. I like to give it a good mix. Okay. Parking has become a real challenge in South Paterson. If elected, how will you work with the community to resolve the parking issue, especially since the Board of Education and school is closed on weekends?
Well, it is true that we do have a parking problem in South Paterson and, in Greater Paterson. I think that I have some potential solutions like permit-based parking. I think that we should have designated pickup and drop-off zones in the mornings. On the campaign trail, I've seen parents complain about parents who drop off their kids in the morning and they're blocking driveways. And it really is a decrease in quality of life. And I think that if we implement these designated pickup and drop-off zones, permit-based parking for teachers, I think that we could overall rectify that issue in South Paterson and Greater Paterson overall.
Thank you. Okay, sorry. Okay. Mr. Gonzalez, how would you ensure the safety of students walking to school on busy streets and long distances with a shortage of crossing guards, especially with the middle school model?
I'm glad you asked that, because that's what I was just talking about. Just 2 days ago, I met with the OIC, who's the chief of police under the state, to speak about this very topic. It was 4 or 5 bullet points. This is one of the top ones, because that's one of the unanswered questions, right? It's like, how do we get more crossing guards in specific sections? So the key question is, what I asked with them was, what database did you use to identify the current crossing guard locations now? It's out of an old database. As you know, in the last 4 to 5 years, this city has changed significantly. Talking about parking developments all over the place. So this population, in South Paterson has increased, and that's very different from 5, 10 years ago. That being said, what we're doing is the district, in charge of the facilities department, to go to look at all these intersections that they currently have, in addition to doing a study, which is currently happening now, to do a study as to where are these intersections that we need to move crossing guards to. So I would like to report is that meeting just happened like 2 days ago, and it's currently happening under the facilities department. I'm hoping to have a response soon, because I told them I needed this like yesterday, not to risk what happened unfortunately on Main Street by the gas station. Individuals have gotten hit struck by vehicles numerous times, I believe. So we take that very seriously, and that stuff is already happening, is underway, and I would love to report back to you all, in addition to the community at large, once we figure out those stats. But in reference to the DCA thing that I learned was that DCA sets the cap. We need to go back and ask DCA to allow us to hire more. Now, that would come out of the city's budget, but we have to advocate for it, and no one has advocated in probably dozens of years. So that's what we're going to do next.
Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez, thank you. And then Ms. McCall?
Yep, I got it. This one's easy.
Okay, I think it's the inside. Yeah,
Okay. If elected, what is your primary role on the board, and how will you change things as they are currently set up?
That's a good question. So, when I get reelected, with all of your help, I would say currently, there isn't, in my perspective, I think that one of the things that I would definitely do is to bring our board together, to definitely try to find some cohesiveness among us so that we can work and be more effective together. And doing that, my hope would be that we would revisit how the board is currently structured. I would make sure that there feels an equalness among board members, that they would be able to participate in committees. I would also make sure that there is cohesiveness when it comes to decision-making and information being assimilated among each other. I think that is really important in order for us to be effective. The other thing that I would change, I would also change virtual meetings. I think that virtual meetings should not exist because we have passed the COVID existence. And I think that parents feel better, I feel better, when I can see faces and I can get the feeling of individuals. So those are definitely the things that I would change.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I got one I agree with, guys. Mr. Smalls, how will you address disparities in academic performance among different student groups such as those based on race, socioeconomic status, and special needs?
Well, I would definitely look at the data, and any changes that I'll make would be data driven. But I think one of the biggest changes we can make is taking a look at the attendance rates. Absenteeism rate is about 30% higher than the state average. So I think that plays a part in the literacy rates and graduation rates. So I think if we could work with the parents to come up with a cohesive plan to change that. As they mentioned, with holidays and things of that nature with different cultures, if we could all come together to come up with a cohesive plan to put in place to increase the attendance, I think that'll go a long way in improving those numbers, or the question that you asked, as far as addressing those different groups and their different performances.
Thank you.
Can you read it?
Yep, I think this one. Mr. Ramadan, how will you ensure that you include the opinions of teachers and parents when making board decisions?
Well, as I addressed before, I have been to board meetings and I feel like the board is not really hand in hand with the parents, and I feel like there can be a huge difference. I feel like we could be more open to listening to parents and teachers and trying our best to work as a community. Like I said, we're not going against each other. Should be working all together, making Paterson one of the best cities, that anybody will think about. And I think the best thing is if we listen to the parents and their needs and the teachers and their needs, I feel like together as a community we could grow together. Thank you very much.
Gonna go over to Mr. Mendez. If elected, what program would you implement that will help support and enrich the arts, home economics, and music in schools?
Well, did you ask what program? Is that, okay. Well, I think we should implement a number of programs. I think that the arts is something that is constantly overlooked within our schooling. When people think of school, they think of math, reading, writing, the basics, but arts is an integral program. As far as what program I implement, I have to go back to the drawing board on that one, but I am in full support of our arts programs and giving our children a creative outlet, because at the end of the day, they are there for 8 hours a day, and it's imperative that they have that outlet, so.
Mr. Gonzalez, is there a specific group that you feel is being underserved? And if so, could you please discuss how specific plans/approach would help that group?
I'm sorry, I missed the first part.
Is there a specific group that you feel is being underserved? And if so, could you please discuss specific plans or approach that would help that specific group?
I think the key one is, although there's a lot of achievements in the school district in the past year, 2, 3, we have lowered the amount of teachers that are needed, although there's still a high number. It's one of its lowest rates. Unfortunately, those fall within the bilingual department as well as special education. So those are the underserved groups, bilingual, and bilingual doesn't just mean Spanish, it means Arabic and everything else, and special ed. So those are the two groups that I feel that always has been underrated, funded. Since I was elected in 2009, that's been an issue, and it's sad that it's still an issue, although there's slight increments as it relates to resources being added to it. The middle school model, going back to the middle school model, even that was a subject, focuses on that. So you have school number 8 as a Spanish magnet school, which only means that anyone who doesn't speak any English, and they are outside of that general catchment area, can go to that school.
Sorry.
And then you have school 9, that is a Arabic magnet school, meaning any students that do not speak any English get to go to that school, even if they live outside of that general area. So there's attention being brought to it. And then spaces that have been made available are being used for special education. So we're infusing more special education into these schools, which are the 2 underserved groups that are being, is part of the superintendent's focus, is part of her goal to address those 2 communities.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And then okay. So with the new middle school model, how do you plan to address the concerns with the lack of lockers and storage space for students who are having to carry their bags around all day?
Well, first of all, this is the first that I'm being told this because I was under the impression that our middle school programs were up, running, and they were doing well, and parents were pleased. So tonight, when I learned as I came in and I was sitting waiting for my colleagues to come, I learned that these things are happening. Tomorrow morning, I will be sending an email asking what is the circumstances and what is the status. I don't think any child should have to carry all of their equipment around all day in order to protect it, in order to maintain it. I think that lockers should be provided. If lockers are not provided, then we need to get them there. Thank you.
Well, I have more time.
Mr. Smalls, how will you hold the superintendent and finance team accountable for measurable academic and operational outcomes tied to district spending?
I definitely think we have to hold them accountable. We have to have transparency. We have to kind of tick and tie every dollar that's being spent so we know exactly where it's going. And then we need to have analysis on why it's going there and could it be better served going somewhere else. So I think just having accountability, my background in finance and accounting, I think will serve me well in that role, as we have to have accountability. We know funding is an issue, as Paterson's been underfunded for years, and we know there are cuts being made federally, and funding is something that's going to be an issue because costs continue to rise. There are certain costs that are not going to go down, they're only going to go up. So we have to make sure that we are constantly going to train and constantly fighting for funds because they're going to be needed and necessary in order to make sure we have the capacity to provide some of these services and some of the resources that our children need.
Thank you.
Mr. Ramadan, how can a district oppose students and teachers' rights to express views on civic and social issues while maintaining a safe and respectful environment?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that? I'm sorry.
How can a district oppose students and teachers' rights to express views on civic and social issues while maintaining a safe and respectful school environment?
Well, going back to, as I've been saying all night, basically, I feel like the parents, teachers are speaking out, but nobody's listening. Like I said before, and I'm gonna say it again, we can work hand in hand. We can make everything a better community as long as we work together and we listen out to each other, not just ignore everybody, ignore the situations, ignore all the concerns coming from parents and teachers. I feel like if we listen and we help out, we could grow together, everybody in the city of Paterson.
So now we're gonna have
We'll do another round of 90 seconds each, being able to respond to any of the questions, and then after that, we'll close out with your 2-minute remarks.
Okay, well, there was a question aimed toward IEPs a little bit earlier, and their representation, more particularly who is underrepresented within the district. I personally had the experience of having many kids on IEPs in my regular classes when I was in high school back in 2017, 2018, and I saw that many of them had a hard time keeping up. None of them had any aides, none of them had anybody to assist them, and quite frankly, it's a huge problem within our school district. I think that we need to focus more funding, more effort, and more attention into students with IEPs. And, yeah, so that's something that I definitely point towards.
Thank you. Something that was asked about arts and art programming and what specific program should be, if I recall, what specific program should be increased. There's something called the Paterson Music Project. The Paterson Music Project is in about a few schools in Paterson, but this is professionals who come in and teach music and education to students in the after-school program setting. It's a very successful program. It's increasing in their capacity to meet the needs of the students in various schools. And there's a lot of success stories that came out of that. There's a lot of students that have gone to college and scholarships through this program. There's one in particular that I know very well who has an opportunity, had an opportunity and did go to California to Walt Disney and perform for Disney. Also had several gigs that came out of that, and this is international. I'm not talking about just in the United States. So this individual now is performing and traveling. So this is an individual, by the way, who had special education. So the opportunities for these students through art is immense, and there's a lot we can do if we increase the capacity. Now they do need additional resources and space to do this, but this is the stuff that we're looking at to increase in our schools. The other thing was about the lockers. The first time I hear about the lockers, so that's something that we can look into quickly. And then the parking solution. Parking is a problem, no matter where you go, Paterson. I mean, South Paterson, especially with all the development. The key thing is that when we had our second meeting with the city for shared service agreements, is looking at parking lots that they own, that the city has through the parking authority, to see if we can leverage some of those spaces and pay for spots for teachers, which takes teachers' cars off the streets, allowing residents to park.
All right. Art and music aren't extras, they're essentials. They build focus, empathy, joy, and Paterson's kids deserve every note and brushstroke. We need to restore art funding and celebrating creativity expressions again. This is one of the posts that I plan to post tomorrow, because I believe that the arts can bring about differences. It brings about culture. It introduces new things. It's exciting. I'm a very, very, very fan of the arts in our schools. One of the things that was also said was about the restoring of what would be different, or when schools are not kind of equal. I think the zip codes of our schools have really been a major conflict for education. There are so many of our schools that are they're not performing as well, but they always get the rougher end of the deal, because those are the schools that teachers don't want to be at. And so they get the opportunity to transfer when they want to, or they put in the transfer because it's not an easy school. I think that we need to find more coaching and more people that are determined to make sure every child gets the same type of quality education, no matter what their zip codes are.
She just mentioned coaching, so that's kind of like the last thing that's ringing in my head right now. You guys mentioned about the safety of kids back and forth from school. I think that's something we can reach out to the coaches to help us out with, because a lot of kids play sports, whether it's basketball, football, so they have to travel from school to practices and then from practices home. So being a classroom teacher myself, I know how imperative it can be, how much of a tool it can be to be able to rely on coaches, because sometimes coaches have more communication and influence on the children than their parents do. So at times when you're having difficulty with the child's behavior, sometimes it's easier or more productive to reach out to their coach to kind of get them back on track and back in line than it is with the parents, because they're dealing with so much as far as work and bills and things of that nature. So I think the school system should work with the local coaches and the local sports programs to ensure that the kids are able to travel back and forth safely.
Going back to the subject about arts, I think we should expand our funding on arts, because, as I said before, now we have students fighting to get into tech, when we should have our students here in Paterson. They should be fighting to go to Kennedy, go to Eastside International. They shouldn't be fighting to get out of Paterson. We should make Paterson a better district. We should expand our funds for all kinds of stuff, sports, arts, education, and hopefully if I get on the board, I get a seat. That's something I could work with everybody and hopefully make a difference and help out in any way I can.
And then, you can have your 2-minute remarks and then pass it back. Yeah.
Well, my name, like I said, is Sumaidad Ramadan. I'm not a politician. I'm an uncle of 14. I see the struggles. I have nephews and nieces. They need IEP help themselves. Nobody's helping. Hopefully, I can make a difference for my family members, for your family members, for the whole city of Paterson, hoping to grow as a community. Thank you very much.
Once again, my name is Christopher. Let me slow down a little bit. Thank you guys for having me here tonight. And once again, my name is Christopher Chris Small. I'll be ballot number 5E, and hopefully I can have your vote and support on November 4th. And once again, I'm an educator and a teacher and a coach all in the city of Paterson. I've been on the front line working with our youth for years, and I will continue to do so, and hopefully in the capacity as a Board of Ed Commissioner. But not only am I an educator, a teacher, and a coach, I'm also a tax accountant. I have a small business located in downtown Paterson. So once again, I've worked with individuals and small business in the city to make them financially responsible and to file their tax return and hopefully not owe the IRS. And outside of that, I'm also part of many organizations and nonprofits that do many events through the city, and I do a lot of volunteering and a lot of charity work. So if you combine all those factors together, I think that makes me a great candidate for the Board of Education.
First of all, thank you for having us. Thank you for this platform. I want to say that in order for me to be great on the Board of Education, I need you. Not just your vote, but I need your voice. I need your presence. Our school board is not always visualized as something important to come to. But parents, you make the difference. You can help us make some of these decisions that you may not agree with by coming. I didn't know how important the middle school program was to parents until you showed up. But we need you to show up then and always. Because again, that budget is important. And you can get a copy of the budget. You can get the big version of it, or you can get the simplified version of it. But you should know where your school dollars are going and how they're being spent. And parents, I'm gonna also ask you for something else. Yes, I need your vote, but I need you to hold every one of the 9 members that sit on the Board of Education accountable for the job that you chose for us to do. Because without you, none of this is possible. And I also want to say, not only am I going to be responsible, but I'm going to continue to speak up. And you're going to always know that children come first, always, with Della McCall. Please vote for me, 4E, on November 4th. And early voting. And if you're not voting, a mail-in ballot. Thank you.
I think she ran into my time, right?
You ran into all of my time.
So thank you, first of all, thank you to the PAC for putting this together. I am honored to be here. And I actually want to thank also all of the candidates because it's not easy running for campaigns. It's not easy to put your heart out and want to do something to serve for something greater than yourself. I've been there numerous times. Let me tell you, I tip my hat off to all of you. I would say that, I'm Eddie Gonzalez, once again, 3E on the ballot. You have 3 choices, right? You have to make these choices because you're voting for your children. When you go home and you look at the faces that are at home, those little, small, tiny, beautiful faces, you have to make sure that you're voting for someone who's going to defend them, right? Someone who's going to really take them to the next level. I think we've proven that. I think we've proven that in the past year or two, that we have worked to bring the stats up. Kids are actually excelling. The stats show it, right? And that was just recently displayed. But more importantly, NJCUSAC, for those who don't know, NJCUSAC is a state audit that happens every 5 years in the school district. We just got local control back. The state ran this Paterson Public School District for decades. We don't want to give that back. I think we need experience to be on this board so that we make sure we carry over all the knowledge, institutional knowledge that we have to make sure things carry over, because when they come and do audits of the 5 different areas, which is governance, fiscal, operations, personnel, and institution, instruction and programming, if we score less than 80%, they can give us a state monitor. And that's the beginning of state control. We don't want to go back to state control because then none of this matters. None of this matters if we go backwards. Parents, what they say, none of this matters, right? So it's important that we excel, that we make sure that we continue to push to make sure that our various departments are being held accountable, that the superintendent is left to do her job and continue the progress that we're making. And I say, I'm a Patersonian at heart. My family is very diverse, both in religious and ethnicity. My brother's Muslim, he practices. He's working on me, he says all the time. So we come from a very diverse community, and we have to respect one another no matter where you're from. And that is a big symbol of who we are as a people. And we have to think about our children, no matter where they come from, what backgrounds they have. We have to make sure that they excel, because one day they will be in our seats to take over. So I hope that that's the vision. All of our vision is to make sure our students excel. 3E on the ballot. Thank you so much.
All right, well, first of all, I wanted to give many thanks to the Palestinian American Community Center for giving us this platform. I think it's incredible what you do. Our great moderator here, she was just mentioning the amount of community outreach that she does for the kids. And honestly, I think that that's what we all want to do with these board positions. We want to further our communities and further ourselves as a whole. Now, I do want to also take a moment to acknowledge what's going on around the world. As we know, there are peace talks going around Gaza, and I think that what has happened is absolutely unacceptable. The number that I read today was 67,000 directly killed and millions of others famine. And I just want to say the Palestinian people are a very, very resilient people, and I'm honored to be alongside you guys in this effort. Now, I can also acknowledge that I wanted to thank you all, right? Because it's 8 p.m. on a Tuesday, and you guys want to make change even on the local level, right? Once again, thank you so much. I am 2E on the ballot. My name is Alex Mendez Jr., and good night. Thank you.
Okay, thank you all so much. Just a few quick announcements. Early voting does begin October 25th and ends on November 2nd, and then November 4th is Election Day. Make sure you bring every single person you know. Help people download sample ballots so that they can get to know the candidates for themselves, so that they can go in informed. Knowledge retained without being applied is useless. So make sure anything that you learned here tonight that you bring out important to the community as well, and to continue to encourage people to get engaged on a local level. We do these candidate forums each year. Keep an eye out for PAC events and for phone calls from PAC interns who want to help people become more informed on the process and how to get involved. Voter information as a whole. Again, we are a 501c3 nonpartisan affiliated organization, so we're always just here to help you learn the process and to help guide you in how to encourage others as well. It's going to take all of us. And today is the last day to register to vote, so if you're anyone that's not registered, call them right now, tell them to register online so that we can vote in this election. And then if you want to sign up for our phone tree at the table, it's our way of being able to contact you anytime you meet with a legislator in your district as a constituent so that we can include you in the conversations. And please feel free to stick around to any of the candidates who might want to mingle with some of the guests and have direct one-on-one conversations as well. And if not, thank you for your time this evening. Best of luck. Again, you get to vote for 3 people on the ballot. So you have 3 votes. So make sure you use all 3 votes and use it to help build a team that you want to see put in place. We should be thinking with team mentalities always. And if you have any further questions, please feel free to come up to me, and I'm happy to help. Thank you all so much and have a wonderful evening. Thank you.